what's up Inkie peeps? It's Adele from Inkie Quill, and today we're playing with a new technique that I haven't done before. I'm working in my Dina Wakley media journal, and although this is an art journal technique today, you could also do this on a scrapbook layout or a mini album. It would look amazing on a mini album. And I'm playing with cutouts. Now, I've never really experimented with this before. I've punched shapes out of backgrounds and layered papers and things and behind them, but I've never actually left them open. So the first thing I'm doing is, this is actually a quadruple page layout technically today. So we're doing 4 pages in my art journal, 2 double pages, and I'm using some white gesso. I use the Liquitex brand as always, and I'm just priming my pages because those canvas pages, oh boy, those canvas pages really are challenging for me. And I knew that if I was going to add any coloured paint to it, it would go straight through because the canvas of course has holes in it, and so any paint that you put on it, it will go straight through. And you'll see this here where I haven't done the gesso all the way to the edge. Why? Who knows? But in the end I actually do paint to the edge and it does go through to the other side. So I'd wanted to make a bit of a ombre-ish type of look. I was at first going for like a really choppy paintbrushy type style, and I'm just using basically all of the shades of blue that are available in the Dylusions paints. They're nice thin paints to use and they dry really quickly as well. And I'm using a flat wide kind of paintbrush. It's my favorite paintbrush to just slap on some background color with, and I started with white at the top because it made it easy to blend the colors, and then I'm gradually making my way down to the bottom, and I'm going through and blending the colors a little bit as much as I can. The problem with acrylic paint is that it dries really quickly. So if you haven't played with doing a background like this before, there's no time like the present to start, but just be prepared for that. You have to work quickly, and that's why I like to have all the paints out. I like to have them ready to go, lids off, so that I'm not fussing around with them too much. So today, this page went slightly different than I had planned. But I love the result. I think I like it better than what I was originally going to do. I was at the start only going to do 1 heart cutout on that canvas page, on the right hand page, and then I decided to change my mind and do all of the hearts. So if you're sitting in your craft room along with me, grab your art journal out, slap some paint on a page, or if you've got a use it up journal, grab a page that's already got paint on it and have a little play along with me. I wanted to, while I'm just painting this and it's not very I don't need to explain a lot, I'm just putting paint on the page, I just want to have a quick talk to you about the access to the printables and videos and things. I've had a few people message me, and so what I've decided to do is I'm going to leave it until the end of August, because I'm giving a bit of extra time to the new Patreon inklets that have joined our team to access things. So at the end of August, I'm going to delete all of the old printables except for July and August. So there's only going to be 2 months of printables up at a time. I'm going to delete the printables from Access, so they won't be available anymore. So if you haven't, even if you haven't printed them, just go back and save them to your own device so that you've got them, because I am going to limit the new subscribers so that people can't just come on once a year, save all the things and then stop, because that's not fair to the rest of you guys. I am, however, going to leave the videos up because I met some beautiful new, well, not new to me, inklets at a recent retreat that I went to, and they were talking about how they like to watch past videos, like especially the longer ones, the DIY embellishment ones, while that they craft. And so I am going to leave the videos up. And a couple of people also said that they have bought new products like alcohol inks and resin to give it a try after I've showed it in videos, and they'd really love access to go back and watch the videos once they've got the products and they can use it themselves. So the videos are going to stay, but the printables at the end of August, you will only have access to 2 months at a time. So I hope that's all right with everyone. I will do a separate post explaining that because the $12 and below tiers won't see this video, so don't worry, you've got until the end of August. You can do a bit of a binge session of saving. So here I decided to contrast the warm and the cool paint colors. So on the previous page we've done all of the cool colors, and here I just went a bit mad. So I just went crazy painting, and it was so fun to do. I've still got that same paintbrush, and I've got shades of pink and red and orange, and I'm just doing little splodges, let's call them splodges, little splodges of paint here, there, and everywhere. And this was really, really fun to do. I definitely want to give this a go. I've got 2.5 pages left in this journal. I was really hoping to get it finished. I just got back from a scrapbook retreat last week, the weekend that's just passed, and I'm still a little bit tired from that. It was so much fun. I will do a little video showing what I did and maybe what I got. I might do a little extra video, but I am still a little bit tired, and I was determined to finish just those 2.5 pages, but I wasn't in an art journaling mood. Lately, I've been very art journaly. I've been pumping out lots of process videos. I've got, I think there's an art journal video every fortnight or 2 weeks if your country doesn't use the word fortnight. That surprised me that other countries don't use the term fortnight. Fortnight means 2 weeks. We use it all the time over here. I don't know if it's just Aaron and I using it a lot, but we seem to use it a lot. Anyway, off topic, as per usual. I wasn't in an art journaling mood at the scrapbook retreat, and so I just did scrapbooking the whole time, which is not like me at all. I didn't do a single art journal page, but yeah, there you go. Here I'm just using some printed tissue paper. I don't know the brand, sorry, I got it many years ago, but if you wanted to replicate the same thing, you could just print your own background stamps onto some white tissue paper and rip it up and use the same kind of concept. And I'm using some matte gel medium by Liquitex, and I use it like a glue. Matte gel medium, I am going to go into more detail. I'm doing a little mixed media side project thing that I haven't started yet, but matte gel medium, sorry, is basically, it can be used for lots of different things. I tend to use it, I imagine, like Mod Podge is used. I've never actually used that, but I imagine it's the same kind of way as a glue and kind of a top coat. So because it is matte, if you put it over the top of something, it doesn't stand out. I also have gloss gel medium, which does the exact same thing, but it's glossy. And so if I was to use it for this, you'd be able to see glossy blobs where I had put down the gloss gel medium, whereas when you use the matte gel medium, it all just blends in together, which is the look that I like. Here I'm going through and I'm sticking some little flecks of washi tape, and I'm sticking those down with the matte gel medium because I don't trust washi, especially not on top of mixed media, on top of paint, because yeah, it's not very trustworthy, the old washi tape. I'm then going through and adding some background stamps using a Dilutions a Dilutions ink pad. There you go. And I'm just using a variety of background stamps that I've got in my collection. and stamping those here or there. There we go. And I purposely left a gap around the outside. I was originally, so my original plan was to do one large cutout on the blue side of that canvas page and stick it to this page, which is why I didn't paint around the outsides and I've got that white space. In the end, I don't do that at all, and I actually use that white space for journaling, so it worked out quite nicely. Using some Posca paint pens, which are my favorite paint pens because they're reasonably priced here in Australia considering the price of other art materials. They're about $7 each or so, $5 if you can get them somewhere sneaky, $10 if it's a bit of a pricey shop, depending on the size of the Posca paint pen as well. And you can also get them in a huge variety of colors. By the way, just so you guys know, I don't get any of these mixed media things for free or discounted or sponsored or anything. I only use stuff that I buy myself and that I actually really like. If I do if a company does send me something, I always make sure to say it in a video. It's usually just my design team stuff. Here, oh look, this is a very dodgy way of using a X-Acto knife and a cutting board. I didn't know where my craft mat was, so instead I ripped the side off a nappy box, diapers, and so I used the piece of cardboard so that I didn't cut through my whole book. If you are dodgy like me, this technique works surprisingly well. If you are a little more organised and know where things are in your craft room, a craft mat would be a much better way how to do this. Now I'm just freehand cutting these hearts. I draw hearts a lot, and so they're a shape that I have practiced drawing many times. If you're not comfortable with this, that's perfectly fine to draw them on first. You could also print out templates from online and cut them out that way. You could punch, if you have a particular heart punch that you like, you could punch some of those out and then use them as templates to trace around. You don't have to hand cut them out. I just, you know me, I'm a little rebellious against the old paper trimmer or formal ways of cutting. I like to go a bit more freehand, and so that's where we're heading today. So I'm just cutting out all of these different hearts, and I've got these hearts sitting on my desk, and I really want to do an art journal page using I'm going to call it the guts of the page, because these hearts are still very much usable. They've kind of curled up a little bit, but I think with some extra strong adhesive, I should be able to tame them and stick them down somewhere on an art journal page. So I'm just going through and cutting these. Definitely make sure you have either your dodgy piece of cardboard from a nappy box or a cutting mat under your page when you're doing this, because you will accidentally cut to your next page. And the whole point of that next page is to be there so that we can see the beautiful colors through this cutout. Have you ever tried a technique like this before? I really love it, and I think it's something that you'll definitely see in my next art journal. When I say next, I think I'm going to have to finish some of the other art journals, because I had a promise to myself in my Scrappy Resolutions video at the start of this year that I was going to finish 3 art journals by the end of June. Have I lived up to that? No. Have I had a few unexpected busyness things with family this year? Yes, which has caused me to maybe not finish things as quickly as I had hoped. I think maybe tonight I might pull out the art journal and try and do a page or two, maybe a page and a half possibly, and I'm going to try and finish just this journal by the end of July. Do realize it's the 25th of July, and I am recording this on the 25th of July as well. But we're going to see if we can get it done, possibly. So I decided to add a few little hearts here as well, just some bits and pieces, and I was very careful of my fingers because of course that X-Acto knife is very sharp, so be careful that you don't chop your fingies off. I did also have to hold this canvas page a little tightly at times, especially with these little ones, and I don't know if my blade isn't very sharp, but sometimes it wasn't behaving itself, and I needed to go back and do some extra cuts because it didn't come through. Now here I did an experiment on one of the leftover hearts. I was going to use the Dilutions paint, and I wanted to outline them in some way because I didn't like that they weren't popping enough for me. They were blending in a little too much, and because I had painted the top of the canvas, the surface of the canvas, when you cut it, it's still bright white inside. So off camera, because I had to put my big head in the way, I have used my paintbrush to outline all of those hearts in a wonky kind of fashion, because if you do things in a wonky fashion, it's good because it doesn't have to look straight. All about the wonkiness and being a little loose and just having a go. So here, this is when I had my glue and I was all set to stick this down. I was going to do it. And then I realized that I kind of like the look of the blue hearts on the other side. So this is when I completely changed it for the second time. So I got my black paint and I decided to paint the back of that canvas in the black. Now I had to be careful here, of course, because there are obviously cutouts on that page, and I had to be really careful that I didn't accidentally paint through and then move my page so that the black paint smudged onto the other side. I managed to do it. Oh, this is a disaster. This doesn't work. Okay. I've lost track of where I was. So here, this did not work. I've grabbed some texture paste and I've done this before and it's looked lovely, but it just didn't suit this page. So I've put it in a Ziploc bag and I'm kind of going to use it like cake piping. And I decided to keep this bit in, even though I hated it and painted over it and didn't like it. And I was going to outline these hearts, and looking at it now, it looks cute, but at the time something about it really annoyed me, and so I looked at it for a second and then I decided, nope, I don't like it. So I wiped it all off, and even though the white paint was still there, I just wiped the textureness of the heart, and I decided to abandon that idea, and I used my good old finger to finger paint the black paint back onto this canvas page, and it was very forgiving. You can't really tell that it was there, so that's a positive in all of this. And like I always say, you can cover up your mistakes. It may not look like you first intended, and then look, I tried again and I was just like, no, still not going to work. So I decided to do this little heart to the side, and I still didn't like it. So once again, wipe that off and cover it up, because you can always cover it up, guys. And look, third time lucky. Can I do something down here? Can I do dots around them? No, don't like that either. And I definitely wanted to keep this in to show you that I never have a finished look in mind, and things do take twists and turns and don't end up how they exactly started off when I started the page in my head. Next, I'm using a Pilot. It's called a G2 and I think it's 0.7. I was calling it a G7 for a while, but that's because I got confused with my camera, which is a G7X. So it's a G2 pen, and it's a lovely juicy pen that I like to use. It's not permanent, it's not waterproof, but it does for doing a little bit of journaling around the edges, any sort of nice pen that you like to write with can work for something like that, because you're not going over the top of any media, you're just going over the top of the normal white paper in the journal. So then I sped this part up a little bit because it took me a while. I'm using a white Sharpie paint pen. So this is times, I think I sped this up times 4. So my hand's going to move a little bit quickly. But all I'm doing is outlining all of these hearts with a white paint pen. And I'm using the Sharpie one does really nice opaque lines, which I love. And you can see just by adding that white, it's really making those hearts pop. I can't stress to you, if you're starting mixed media, or if you want to have a go at doing some art journaling techniques, even in your scrapbooking, invest in a black paint pen and a white paint pen. And before you do any of the other colors, you don't need the other colors just yet. Black and white can really take your page from looking flat to really making elements pop and making the colors pop as well. It was difficult to draw on top of that canvas paper, of course, but I managed to, I've sped this up a little bit as well, I've managed to do it, and it kind of in some areas kind of flicked the paint out of my white paint pen and did a bit of a slightly splattery look, but I really love the look of it. It kind of made it look more handwritten or hand drawn, I should say. And I really like the look of it. Here I'm using I think I'm using my football pen, I do believe. And I found a quote on Pinterest once again. And now I'm going over the top of it with a Posca paint pen. And I did use a narrow tipped one, not too narrow, but narrower than I probably should have. It would have been easier in the long run to go back and use a wider paint pen, because I did have to do a lot of going over the same sections over and over again to thicken them up a little bit. So one thing I could have done to help this page is, before I wrote my quote, I kind of should have closed the heart page and seen where the text was showing on the through the other side of the heart, so looking through from the black side of the hearts. And it looks all right, but I probably would have put the quote maybe to the side or further down, just to add a little bit of extra interest, I guess. And I didn't, but that's okay, that's all right. And here's where I sped things up a little bit, because otherwise you would have seen 20 minutes worth of my pen being a little bit not on its best behavior, and a lot of my hand covering the letters that I was writing. So I have sped this part up a little bit more. The thing that I love about this technique particularly is I'm big for texture. I love the feeling of turning the pages in my art journal and feeling things like texture paste and tissue paper, and when you put a napkin on a page, it changes the texture of it as well. And that's originally what drew me to buying this Dina Wakley media journal. Little did I know how frustrating some of the textures would be. And for a long time, I wished I had cut out all of the canvas pages and all of the burlap pages, so I just had craft and white paper. I am glad now, because of pages like this, that I did keep some of the canvas pages in there, because it does bring a different feel to the page, especially doing it with the cutouts on this canvas side. Now, if you don't have an art journal like this, that's perfectly fine. Cut out from a normal page in your art journal. And like I said, I think this would also look really good in a mini album too. Then I'm going back and I'm using my black Posca paint pen, and I'm just fixing up some of the gaps that I've noticed in my heart little outlines. and a little bit of the wonkiness, not all of the wonkiness, but just some of them were a lot thinner than other ones, and I kind of just wanted to even them up a little bit. Looking back, I probably could have just outlined them with a paint pen without doing it with the actual paint, but the paint was fun to do, so I did it. I'm going through and I'm using that same white Sharpie paint pen. It's a water-based one, and I'm adding a little bit of highlight to my letters. I love doing this. It's really fun and easy to do, and it kind of also makes the whole page come together a little bit more when you see the touch of white in the letters, and then you see, once I move that baking paper, you'll see the touch of white splatters on the red and orange page. And it just, I don't know, it's something about the white. I know I say it in almost every art journaling video. It just can really change how things look. So then I decided to do a doodly border, and I kind of wish I hadn't. It was very difficult to do. My paint pen was dying and I persisted, but it was very, very difficult to do, especially on this canvas. It was so bumpy, and when you have a paint pen that's not having a great run, it makes it especially difficult. I'm then using, as always, a texture chalk marker to do some white splatters, and this one was almost finished, and the splatters came out very forcefully down in that bottom right hand section in the middle there, and it did a bit bigger splatters than I expected, but this page was all about experimentation, and I'm glad that I kind of let go a little bit, because it didn't look like my original plan, and I love it even more. I'm going in also with some background stamps and my Black Dilutions ink pad, and I just felt like this page needed a little extra touch of black, because I had the black outlines of the hearts, the black font of the quote that I wrote, and I just felt like it needed something else. This is a stamp that I got. I actually bought it probably maybe six to 8 months ago, and then I lost it. I have no idea where it went. It was only about $3. So when I found, and I loved it, the look of it in the shop. I think it's Kaiser Craft one. I'm not completely certain though. And so when I saw it again in the shop and it was on sale for $3, I thought, I'm going to buy it. And I thought by buying it, that meant I was going to jinx myself and find the original one that I bought. Nope, still haven't found it, and that's okay. If I do ever find it, it will just go in a giveaway parcel or a de-stash bundle. I do have quite a few items that I want to de-stash. That's probably my next job, and so I might be making some kind of crafty mystery boxes, but I'll make them themed. So I'll do like a girly one, and I'll do a more neutral themed one, and maybe a more blue, cool tones, blues and greens and all of that. So keep your eyes out for those. I'll let you guys over here on Patreon know, and I might even give you guys a bit of a discount code or something. But the page is all complete. I've hardy shined, and it's busy and bright and fun, and I love it. It was so fun to make, and if you haven't had a try at cutting out things like I hadn't, highly recommend. It has great potential to stuff it up because there's a blade involved and hand cutting, but it also has great potential for just a fun new experience. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if there's any art journaling techniques you want me to tackle, or if there's any scrapbooking techniques or just general crafty techniques, and I will get those in the next technique tactics video. Thanks for watching today, guys, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye.